Hello, my name is Nick Beaver, and I'm here to provide you with a pecha kucha presentation on my research topic, which is organic food and the environmental impacts of conventional agriculture. As a kid, my parents always tried to get me to eat healthy. I started noticing this reoccurring word on many of the groceries that my mother would bring home from the supermarket. This word was organic. At first, I wasn't really sure just what organic meant, but based on some speculations I made, some things I'd heard, and some assumptions I'd made about organic food, I just thought it was a healthier alternative to regular or conventional food. As I started my research, I very quickly realized that there's a whole lot more to the organic food and agriculture industry than I had initially thought. At first, I had a tough time figuring out which parts of the organic area I thought were most important to focus on, but I eventually narrowed down my research to just the nutritional and environmental aspects. As I learned more about the topic, I narrowed down my focus further and realized that I wanted to focus mainly just on the environmental benefits of organic agriculture. To help me conduct my research and find useful and credible sources, I used Google Scholar and the University of Denver's online library, where I found databases to sift through for journals such as Organic Food, Health, and Environmental Advantages, which served for great foundational information. This summer, I've been on an island called Nantucket off the coast of Massachusetts, so finding an interview to conduct was not the easiest process. I basically had two options. I found one being Bartlett's Farm, which is a fairly large 100-acre farm on the island, and one gardening community called Sustainable Nantucket. I reached out to these organizations, but only heard back from Bartlett's Farm vegetable production manager Andrew Smollett, who's very enthusiastic and passionate on the topic, and ended up talking to me for about an hour and 15 minutes. In the journal, Joel Foreman and Jeanette Silverstein state that the definition of organic agriculture is organic farming uses an approach to growing crops and raising livestock that avoid synthetic chemicals, hormones, antibiotic agents, genetic engineering, and irradiation. In terms of becoming certified organic, the process is not very smooth transition from conventional. First, you have to apply to get certified, pay certain fees, and then there is a 4-year waiting period before you get the certificate. The most important environmental issue organic agriculture resolves is the protection of soil health and fertility. Making sure the topsoil is kept in good condition and isn't replaced is extremely important. Practices such as crop rotation and planting cover crops is key for this issue. The use of cover crops takes up excess fertilizer that can be harmful otherwise. In the winter, cover crops are especially good to use for the topsoil because there is more precipitation and a lot of topsoil is lost during this period of time. When the ground is bare in the winter with a lot of precipitation, the soil moves through the root zone, down through the undersoil and into the groundwater. Without the defense of cover crops, this causes soil leaching and dead zones in places like the Mississippi River Delta, where this is seen as a huge problem. As you can see here, there's a quick diagram of the eutrophication process of soil leaching. And the next major issue with conventional farming is genetically modified organisms and crops. This is typically seen as commodity crops that are usually modified to have resistance and tolerance to herbicides and pesticides that would normally kill the plants. An example of a genetically modified crop is Roundup Ready corn, corn that is modified to be able to tolerate the herbicide Roundup and not be harmed. Over time, this basically creates super weeds and develop tolerances as well, which leads farmers to use more and more herbicides as the time goes on. Other issues regarding genetically modified organisms would be crossbreeding and mutating among other wild crops, creating issues with consistency and quality down the line. Recently, there have been legal debates in states that produce lots of soybeans because of something called dicamba drift, where farmers spray the herbicide dicamba with crops that can tolerate it and having it spread to neighboring farms, killing all of their crops because their crops can't tolerate dicamba. We need to make a change because there are places like China, India, and Iraq that were once the foundation of agriculture and whose land is now sterile to farming because of unhealthy farming practices. These are huge issues. Whether or not they are directly present in our lives, it doesn't matter. We need to support our organic agriculture because if we don't, the issues will continue.